Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is FrancisP, and I'm a personal development and recovery coach based outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And today I want to come to you with a topic that I think applies to both the recovery coaching type clients as well as the personal development clients, and that's fulfillment. And that's what it is, why it matters, and how to find it for yourself. And first, I want to start with a definition that I developed of fulfillment. And I've been reading a lot of different articles and studies about fulfillment over the week, and I have a clinical definition in here as well, but I wanted to come up with something I thought was a little bit more easy to digest. And what I feel is the definition of fulfillment is the overall assessment that your actions, time, and energy are well spent and align with your own personal goals and values. At the same time, it's living your values and achieving some of your personal goals, because I feel if you develop these goals and values, but if you're not achieving these goals and you're not really living these values, it's hard to actually get the fulfillment that comes along with it. Sometimes you need some wins, to feel fulfilled. If you're just taking L's left and right, I think it's a little harder to feel fulfilled when you're starting to see some of these goals come to fruition. And this is from an article, psychom.net, How to Be Happy. And they say fulfillment is the process of living a valued life where one pursues things that matter to them or that they are passionate about, Dr. Barber says. It generally comes from choosing actions that move a person towards what they value, as well as achieving goals that were guided by those values, she says. Living a life with integrity towards ourselves and one that's consistent with our values generally leads to a more fulfilled life. Beneva says, fulfillment brings the locus of control inside of us so that we have a greater agency over our experience. We determine what is meaningful to us and then have the power to live our lives in a manner that is consistent with the meaning we long for, she says, whereas happiness is more externally driven, leaving us at the mercy of outside forces or changing circumstances. So basically, they're saying that by doing things that align with your goals and values, things that matter to you, that you bring the control inside yourself, that I can choose what I'm going for that gives me fulfillment. And that, yes, maybe I'm going for something that doesn't really give me fulfillment and I can get momentary happiness throughout this process. But by things that really matter to me, I'll gain more fulfillment and have more control over how I ultimately feel inside by determining what is meaningful to me and then having the power to live my life in a manner that is consistent with the meaning I long for. And that's why I talk about living my values and then having my goals based on my values. And I have a video about values, clarifying your values. And to me, being an embodiment and living my values is what I kind of base my identity off of. Who I am who I am as a person is my actions, the things that I do, the things that I say, how I interact with other people. To me, that is who I am, and that is guided by my values. So if someone said, who is FrancisP, I almost want it to be like the picture. It would be explained like my values. He's kind, he's helpful, he's these different things. To me, that's my value, not, oh, he's a coach, he's 39, he's a male, white guy, no, it's my values, these, contents of my character, that are my identity to me. And I think it's a place I will put my identity instead of putting it on a job, because what if your identity is I'm a carpenter and then I get injured and I'm disabled and I can't work anymore? What's my identity now? A lot of different things you can put my identity on, they can be taken away. But my values, I can live them no matter the situation I'm in. I use an example and it'd be tough, but imagine you're wrongfully convicted of murder. And there's people that have been in jail for decades, wrongfully convicted. How do you keep your values in a situation like prison in America? How do you live your values, in extreme situations? Suppose I'm homeless on the street. How do I still live my values? So it's not dependent even on the situation. My values come from within. The locus of control is within myself. Even in almost impossible situations, to have a choice to live my values. Now I'm going to use a definition of fulfillment, and this comes from this study. And they asked people what they found fulfilling in life and at different stages of life. So they asked people from their 20s, up to their 80s, what they found fulfilling. And their definition of fulfillment was a cognitive affective experience, so mental experience, referring to a sense of wholeness, fit, and value towards a self, one's life, and one's impact. And one of the reasons I make these videos and reword this stuff is to kind of make it digestible. And that's what other people are doing as well, like Psychology Today. People are writing articles about this. I'm just doing it in video form. And I think I speak in a way that I think a lot of people can at least understand and relate to. I know I don't speak perfectly. I make zero edits in these videos. So sometimes I'm going to mumble or jumble words up or, stutter. Things are going to happen. But here we are. I'm a human being. So. But that's why I try and make these things digestible so you can understand. Beginning with digestible. So this is like this 3x3 explanation of what they found were the sources of fulfillment and criteria for fulfillment in life. And we're looking at the top left of the slide: criteria, fulfillment, source of fulfillment, and the wholeness, the sense of wholeness and completeness of the self, realized uniqueness, wholeness, completeness of your life, let you lived a full life, the wholeness and completeness of your impact and legacy, that you made a positive difference. You're the fit of your life, authentic pursuits that fulfillment from having had the courage to be true to oneself. Your fit in your life, fulfillment of having led a life that felt right, that the way you were living your life, how was aligned with how you viewed yourself and how you wanted to live life. And I use an example. Let's give a couple. One example I gave, I've been talking about to clients about this recently as I was developing this, is suppose you were kind of pushed in a profession that you didn't want to be in. Maybe it's a family business. Your family owns a business, and I've literally met people like this who, yeah, you got great job security, but this is not what you wanted to do in life, but here you are, and you're older, and now you've been working at the family business for decades, but it's not how you envision yourself. How do I still find fulfillment? Or maybe sometimes it's making a change, but fulfillment maybe other areas in my life. Another example is somebody who maybe they were gay, and instead, back in the day, people literally go have a family, kids, and maybe they love having the kids, that's fulfilling and stuff, but it really doesn't fit with they actually wanted to live their life a different way. When I was in college, there was a professor like that had two grown adult children and finally came out after decades to his wife and said, actually, I'd always wanted to live my life as a gay man. I've just been doing this because that's what we were supposed to do. And I was in college. This was 2001. Times have changed a lot in 22 years, but that these were things that occurred that people literally their life just didn't fit. I've worked with a client who she had wanted to be a professional like a dancer, not exact dancer like dance on stage. She wound up getting pregnant early on. Instead, got married, had kids, but her kids they grow up, move out of the house, and she develops a real bad drinking problem because she said she didn't feel fulfilled. Her idea of how she wanted life to be wasn't what it was. And then next thing you know, she's in substance use treatment for alcoholism because her life didn't fit that what she felt was how she imagined it. So that's how this stuff really does matter, and how we can rearrange this and shift this in our minds or shift our lives around, to be more congruent with this. So fit for impact and legacy, a contribution reflecting the self, fulfillment from having been able to combine one's own values, talents, and interests while making a positive contribution. And honestly, the legacy that the children and things like this, sometimes for people, their calling, the things that they leave behind is huge for people feeling fulfilled in life, to be able to feel like you're giving something back, leaving something for other people. Lastly, for the last row, value, sense of meaningfulness, significance, worthwhileness, that for yourself, worthwhile involvements, fulfillment from having used one's resources and potentiality sensibly, that what I did had value, it mattered to me, had value to me, that my life had value, life was worthwhile, fulfillment from perceiving one's own life as worthwhile and meaningful. And when you think about that, when your life was worthwhile and meaningful, it could be from just your perspective. Maybe you traveled the world and saw all kinds of cool stuff, and that was fulfillment, or a life that was meaningful because it had an impact, to move to the next column. Life that mattered to others, fulfillment from a sense that one's life mattered, made a positive difference to others. So when we think about some great different leaders or people in life, people who've made a difference or positive impact, that their name is known, for decades or centuries on, like, for some people that would be fulfilling, to know that you're making some kind of big positive impact for others. And all this is unique to every individual. And once again, so they ask people, in this study what their description of fulfillment was. And some of the descriptions, here's one for example: abstract descriptions of a fulfilled life says, when I imagine that I am old and look back on my past life, I would like to come to the realization that despite all the mistakes I have made during my life, overall, I am satisfied with the way I've spent it. And this is one person, a male 24 years old, thinking about when I'm older, looking back, what would bring me fulfillment. And he says that the realization that despite all the mistakes I've made, so saying that I know I'm going to mistakes going forward, but overall I'm satisfied with the way I've spent my time and energy. And think about how unique to each individual that is, of how you want to spend your time and energy, which is based on your values, once again, and your goals. And next, they talked about elements of fulfilling life, like was the cognitive appraisal, like the mental estimation, the mental assessment, as I said, like of appraisal of your life, having fully lived and mastered life, had a purpose in life, attained important goals, left a legacy, developed oneself, made good decisions, lived according to personal values, acquired greater self knowledge, and used talents and resources in a meaningful way. An example of attaining self development goals: I become closer and closer to the person I want to be. And for the entire like personal development side of what I do, like this is the purpose right here, to help people have this, to feel that they've master life, or these different things that they want to work on, that they develop their purpose. Maybe it's not in your career, but in these other areas that you're volunteering in or doing these other things in, that you attain some of these important goals, that you left some kind of legacy, develop oneself. Like, what does that mean? Think about how many areas you can develop yourself in. Made good decisions, lived according to personal values, helping people develop their own set of personal values, not ones that somebody else handed you or said, here's your list of values. Like, no, these are for you. Like, they mesh with you. You vibe with them. That's what matters. Acquired greater self-knowledge, knowledge about yourself. What makes you tick? How do you work? What are you passionate about? What gives you fulfillment, by experiencing these different things, and use your talents and resources in a meaningful way. An example of attaining self-development goals: become closer and closer to the person I want to be. And it's literally part of the recovery definition is, developing and striving to reach your full potential, that person you envision yourself as. And I don't think that we really know most times what our full potential is. That's why you just keep pushing, see where you can get to, shoot for what they say, shoot for the stars, and at least you'll land or grab the moon, something like that, or shoot for the moon, land among the stars, although the moon's closer. But yeah, like you never know where you can get to just by trying and being open to it. And lastly, they were talking about elements of fulfilling life was the emotional appraisal of their life, the feeling grateful, being in harmony, at peace with oneself and with life, having experienced positive emotions like pride, joy, and peace, feeling inner contentment, not having major regrets. It says, to illustrate, an 84-year-old female participant had this to say about the importance of being at peace. A fulfilled life is when you're reconciled with your life in old age. So that's a person who's 84 looking back, saying that to me, being fulfilled is like when you're reconciled with life. You've had the acceptance of them mistakes and these different things you work through, but you also have these pride, joy, and peace, and contentment, and gratitude. And gratitude is something that'll come up again. And some of the clients that I've worked with, gratitude is really big. I have a client, he's an older gentleman, and we talk about gratitude a lot. And that's something that he really utilizes as a tool. And he's really taught me a lot about gratitude, because I've struggled, honestly, with that term. I use acceptance more than I use gratitude. I could do an entire video about that. But, he really has shown me a different way to kind of look at gratitude and how it helps him as well. And now we talk about source of fulfillment: relationships and community, sharing quality time with others, your occupation, living one's calling, recreational activities, music, exercise, enjoyment of the small things. And one thing that came up in this study that was huge was nature. One of the biggest things that people reported that they were getting a lot of fulfillment out was being out in nature. Learning, meeting new people, and exposure to new points of view. That's why I even love my job, because not only do I give back, but by meeting so many different interesting and fascinating clients and hearing different people's perspectives and points of view, like it helps me expand. Like we're all in this together. I'm literally borrowing from other people's work. They're borrowing off other people's work. They're building off of other people's work, and then they're sharing it back and forth, and people are getting different ideas. Like that's how this works. And to me, that's the fun of all of this. It's other people make it interesting. Partnership, loving remaining partnership. loving romantic partnership, parenting, raising children well. And it's interesting that they said parenting increased fulfillment a lot, but not necessarily happiness. That oftentimes children can increase your stress levels and different things like that, but that parenting and grandparenting were extremely fulfilling for people that they were part of their experience. For me, I'm a fantastic uncle. I'm not a parent, but being an uncle is extremely rewarding and fulfilling to me. One of the biggest, civic engagement, working for a good cause, spirituality, living spiritually. And it was the older demographics that referenced spirituality the most, that their faith, spirituality, things like that gave them a lot of fulfillment that stage of their life, and savoring, enjoying every moment, being able to be mindful and experience and enjoy the experience. And then I think savoring is part of that gratitude, being grateful for the experience in the moment and in retrospect. And then so here's another article. This is from Psychology Today talking about this study. And this person referenced their takeaways. And they said that they felt that people view a fulfilled life as associated primarily with having lived a full life, attaining meaningful goals, developing oneself, contributed to other people's lives, and left a positive legacy. And you notice that self-development, once again, it's part of this, and your goals, living a full life, which is all these different areas of life besides just your work, and your family. It could be hobbies and experiences and self-development, which can be so many different areas of your life. Contributing to other people's lives through like volunteering, giving back, just sharing the experience, leaving a positive legacy, whether it's at work, at home, with other people in your life, what have you. And I'll put all these links down below as well, so you can check out these articles. And lastly, I want to leave you with some actionable steps, some things that we can do currently, today, to start trying to find more fulfillment in our life. And first one would be focus on others. Often meaning and fulfillment can be found most easily by focusing on others and how we might bring greater ease and happiness to their lives. Beneva says, one of the things that research tells us is that volunteer work brings great fulfillment. And honestly, I can say that because my first type of coaching and different facilitating and things I was doing was volunteer work, and I got so much out of it. And then when I started doing it for my job, for a career as well, that was just kind of a bonus. I wanted to do it. If there was no such thing as income and there's no such thing as money, this is still what I would want to be doing. And that's I think it was, I forget, it was Alan Watts or Ram Dass has this thought experiment where they said if money was no object, what would you do all day? What would you want to do? And this is it. This is what I'd be doing regardless, so this gives me a lot of fulfillment, and I'd started out volunteering, and that helped me get into my first gig doing this kind of stuff with an organization. Because here, somebody I volunteered with actually wound up working there. So then, when after I got certified and did my schooling and stuff, it actually helped me get in the door. Step 2, look internally. Beneva suggests asking yourself which moments in your life did you feel most fulfilled. Is there a theme or pattern? What was it about those experiences that meant the most to you? Do you long for more of that in your life? Fulfillment is far more nuanced than the kind of false association we make to having the newest fashions or nicest house on the block as determinants of happiness. When I get my paycheck, if I buy something, okay, cool. But when a client has a success, or when a client recently, she said thank you for genuinely caring, because sometimes they don't experience that, where they feel that their person that's helping them or genuinely cares. I try and build trust by doing the things I say I'm going to do, keeping my word, trying to, advocate for people, go to bat for people, these different things. And so when a client thanks me, when a client tells me, hey, that thing that you told me to check out, oh, that really worked out for me, that's what gives me the fulfillment, and kind of an easy example of this for people to understand, especially with things like volunteering, is also the difference between getting a gift and giving a gift. Getting a gift feels cool. You're oh, I got this thing, awesome, depending on how much you want it. Giving a kid a gift, or giving somebody a gift that you put thought into, and now you see their expression and the joy on them, that to me feels even better. And once you kind of experience that, you're I want more of that. I long for more of that in my life, helping people feel good. Number 3, be grateful. And that's, here you go, gratitude. Gratitude helps people connect to a greater good, and it has a host of benefits like encouraging more positive emotions, improving health, and dealing with adversity. You can still strive for more, but appreciate what you already have. Experience joy with what you have right now and recognize you can keep growing and fulfilling potential. And the gratitude one was on a lot of lists. And they say literally, if you're feeling down, you can write down things that you're grateful for, and it can help you feel better in the moment. But it can also help overcome the adversity. I use acceptance, like I said, more than gratitude. But being able to appreciate things, and just whether it's standing outside a nice day in the sun on your face and being grateful for that, and appreciating that, whatever helps you get through. And I find that's why nature clearly was one of their biggest answers, things that are fulfillment. So even just being out on a nice, beautiful day, I can have the great gratitude, gratefulness, and appreciation for that. Step four, foster connections. Ultimately, the most important thing is relationships, connections to other people, and some sense of community. Whether that community is you and your family, you and your partner, or you and your group of friends. Dr. Wana says it's bonding, connection, and being with people instead of feeling separate, isolated, and disconnected, so you feel connected and part of something. That's part of that giving back. Like, ultimately, that's what makes this whole experience. If I was the only person on earth, this would be boring. If I could be sitting here talking to this camera and have all kinds of stuff around me, you could have Lamborghini outside, but if I was the only human being on earth, it would get boring. It would suck. So it's really it's the other people that make this entire experience worthwhile. So whether it's now giving back or interacting or helping others, like it's my connections with other people that seem to be their most rewarding, or your partner, your family, your friends. When I was doing my first time I did a values exercise, was like family, helping other people. These were the things that I early on determined, like, these were the true values that I held inside. So how can I align my life and start living these values? Like sharing this stuff in a video to me is giving back, helping other people, trying to help other people get fulfillment so we can all just feel better. It's my goal is for everybody's quality of life just be raised up, even if just it's a few points across the board. If you're at a 4 out of 10, you be at like a 7 out of 10. Boom, that's fantastic. We killed it. Like, everybody doesn't need to be like a 10, or it's not even what I'm aiming for, but everybody can feel fulfilled and grateful and appreciative and good and content, and at peace and serene. That's awesome. And lastly, thank you. Thank you for checking out this video. Thank you for being interested in these things. And as always, if you're interested in private personal development coaching, you can check out my website, premiumpersonaldevelopment.com, or send me an email, and I'll put the links down below for the articles from my website, all the different stuff as well. There was a phenomenal Tony Robbins article I'll probably link that I was reading. I'd even put stuff in. I actually wound up cutting out a bunch of slides. There was so much information on fulfillment, and I could have just included everything, but I'm trying to keep these videos somewhat condensed. But I'll link them down below so that we can check them out as well as a study. So, all right, have a fantastic day. All right, thank you. Bye.